Hey guys, for today's video, we're going to be doing a Foilayage retouch, but instead of doing it super blended, we're going to be doing more of a dimensional blonde and leaving a lot of depth behind. So to see how we tackle the service, keep watching, but first don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want, you can follow me over on Instagram at Christy@thecottage. Here's my client's before, and the one thing that she complained about was that her hair was too blended last time she got it done by another stylist, creating more of a heavy line as it was growing out.
Hey guys, so the client that I'm going to be working on right now, we're just going to be doing a partial balayage. She feels like she has a pretty heavy line of demarcation. So her hair kind of in this area and down is pretty solid, warm, medium blonde. It's not that bright. But the pictures that she showed me, she really wants a lot of brightness, like right around her face, everywhere, underneath, but she kind of wants it left darker kind of in this area. She's going to be getting married probably in like a month or so, and I kind of asked her about like the grow out because I don't want to take it too high up here, and then she has like a whole bunch of roots and all that stuff. So we kind of talked about back combing the framing around her face a little bit so it softens up as it grows out. I think the way that I'm going to do her balayage is more like at a diagonal this way. I feel like she's talking about how it's just when she got it done last time that it just kind of looks more straight across. And I feel like when you do balayage more, like take your sections just straight, then it looks too blended. But I feel like if you do a more diagonal, then it creates more dimension in the hair. So that's the way we're going to do her hair today. You already know if you watch my videos, I'm just going to be using my Schwarzkopf Blonde Me with 20 volume and Olaplex. I'm trying to debate if I'm going to use 7 volume through the ends, because her ends feel a little bit dry, but they don't really feel bad or anything. They're just a little like she needs a haircut. Yeah, I'm only doing a partial. It's not gonna be too heavy where it's gonna sit on for too long. So I think it'll be okay to run the 20 volume through the ends. So that's what we're going to do.
To start her service, we're going to just do her highlights right on her hairline. And she said that she wants it really blended and pretty bright around her face. And she wants a lot of depth kind of back behind in the crown area. And when she pulls her hair back, she wants to have that really nice, like bright, sweeping piece of blonde. So I'm going to do a little bit heavier around her hairline here to make sure that she has that brightness that she wants. But we're going to do it blended enough to where it still looks a little bit more natural and has softer grow out. So we're just going to put a few foils here, and I'm going to do a little bit heavier of a weave after the first one. I want the first one to be a little bit softer. That way it's the very first one that you see and it grows out a little bit easier on the hairline. But the following foils, the weaves are going to be just a little bit heavier just to give her that extra brightness that she's wanting. This last section right here, I'm doing a really fine subsection in between. It's pretty minimal. And then you can see that it's pretty much like a heavy slice, I don't want to say baby light, but I feel like it's thinner than your typical slice, but it's definitely not a weave. And this is so that she's still, the brightness kind of is layered a little bit, where the first foil on her hairline is quite a bit softer, definitely a really fine baby light. The next foil is kind of more of a heavier weave, and that last foil was more of like a soft slice. And I feel like that's going to help create like a layered brightness on her hairline, where she's still going to have the softer grow out from the first foil, but when she pulls her hair back, she's still going to see that brightness kind of laying underneath the hair. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, where she's going to have softer grow out, but also extra brightness kind of underneath. And I think that's a really nice way to go about doing this versus just doing a really heavy slice or heavy weave directly on the hairline. I still want to make it easy for my clients so that they can have soft grow out as the months go by. And also because she is getting married in a month and she doesn't know if she'll be able to come in by the next, in the next 3 weeks or whatever, to just touch up around her hairline. So I wanted to make it a little bit more natural and not have to worry about heavy grow out just in case she's not able to get in. You'll be able to see here that her hairline goes more straight across, which is nice because now I can just go straight on versus having to do like 2 sections of her hairline, one from either side off the part. So because again, she wants that a little bit brighter, this very, very first one, I'm going to do just a really soft weave. And we're going to lay that down. Again, that's going to help it be a little bit softer and more subtle directly on the hairline. She wants it really bright and nice, bright blonde directly on her face. But again, I'm really cautious of the grow out and having a line of demarcation over the next month or so, especially because of her wedding. So I told her that I think it would be good if we do a little bit heavier, but maybe we can back comb it. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm weaving it and back combing it. That way it's going to be nice and bright, but just kind of right at the root area, it's going to soften up just a little bit. So that way she doesn't have that super bright, like grow out right off of her hairline. So these next few foils that I'm going to do are going to be a little bit thicker of a weave, but I'm going to back comb it so that way it softens up just at the root, just slightly. And again, just like on the sides of her head, this last one is going to be just slightly more dramatic of a piece that we're doing. That way she'll have that extra bright, bold pop of blonde. But again, I feel like layering the brightness is a good idea. That way it kind of softens up as she pulls her hair back. She's not going to have like that huge like streak of blonde. It's going to soften up. So this is it for her money piece, her blonde area around her face. And now we're going to start going diagonally back. I parted exactly where she parts her hair, and I'm just going to take some diagonal weaves back kind of down underneath where she parts her hair. And I feel like this is going to help create a little bit more dimension, especially since she said that she felt like her hair was too blended, so that way when it grew out, it was just, now it just looks too much of like a heavy line. So kind of going directly underneath where she parts her hair, that's going to create more of a dimensional blonde versus having it be too blended of a blonde. And I feel like that's something that you need to ask your clients is, do you want more of a blended blonde or do you want more of a dimensional blonde? And doing more of a blended blonde, you could just adjust your sectioning to go more straight across, and that's going to have it be more, probably a little bit more bright too, because that section is going to go straight across like the top section where they part their hair versus kind of everything falling more underneath and just having that little piece right where they part their hair standing out a little bit more. So these next few foils, I'm really just going to do probably like maybe 3 of these diagonal back combed weaves directly underneath where she parts her hair. So again, I want to say it's underneath her hair, but what I really mean is that the connecting foils at the very top of the head are right where she parts her hair. So she's still gonna have that brightness, but it's gonna fall more soft and subtle. So you can see right here where I'm weaving, the very top of that section is gonna connect with the foil on the other side. So even though I'm saying like the foil is underneath her hair, the very, very top part is going to meet with the foil on the other side. So that way she's going to have that connection that we need. We don't want it to look too disconnected and too rooty. If she said that she just wanted to have like a completely like rooty crown, she doesn't want any blonde up top, then I would kind of pull the foils down a little bit and not have them connect at the top. But because we want to make sure that she has kind of more dimensional pieces, not necessarily streaky where she wants to see like, you know, chunks or whatever in her hair, but just nice and dimensional. So that's why I'm doing it kind of diagonally. Is that a word? I don't know, but that's why I'm doing it more diagonal down on the sides of her head off of her part versus directly on top of her part. And I hope that makes sense. One thing that she said is that she definitely wants to have more of a rooty natural crown still and not have it like super heavy and super bright blonde up at the top. But, you know, we are going for dimensional and more of a brighter blonde. However, like not super bold, though, I think is the difference. I think it's okay to say that we're doing a brighter blonde than the color that she currently has, but not to confuse that with like a bold blonde where it's like a super heavy, like super contrasting, noticeable blonde up at the top. One thing that she said was that she does want to have a lot of her roots still and more natural in the crown area. And not take the blonde up super high into the roots. But I feel like that kind of creates a problem because when clients say that, I feel like they still want a little bit of a softer shadow area and definitely more natural and rooty looking. But I feel like if, like she said that she wants it a couple inches away from her roots, from her scalp, and that's fine if that honestly is somebody doesn't want any blonde whatsoever up in that area. But the problem with that, I feel like, is now they're gonna already leave the salon with like a couple months worth of grow out, and then, you know, they're gonna feel like they have to come in a lot sooner because now their hair is grown out in a month. They're gonna feel like they don't have any blonde. So I feel like there's ways that you can accommodate the client wanting to be more rooty. Sometimes I feel like when they say they don't want it up all the way, I feel like they just don't want that typical highlight foil look. So I feel like the way to prevent that from happening is to really backcomb and get a good like cushion in there. So, and like weave it really good and make sure it's blended really nicely, because I told her, and I'm probably not going to be able to go into detail at that point because there's not enough footage of it or anything, but when I was washing her hair out, I told her, like, I don't know if you're going to want a shadow root or anything, because the blonde is like, we took it all the way up to your scalp, like not all the way, but it's up there pretty high, probably within an inch or so. And she's like, oh yeah, I kind of wanted to leave it a little bit more rooty in that area, so maybe we will do a root shadow. And when all was said and done, she didn't end up wanting it or needing it because we backcombed it enough to where it still created that depth that she wanted, but we were able to take the blonde up high enough, but that root kind of blends a little bit more, so that way the blonde doesn't go up so bright. It's more soft and subtle in the root area, but then gets brighter through the ends. And really quickly, I'm kind of parting her hair right here how it naturally falls. So I'm just going to take like a little section, set it aside, and then I'm just going to go straight across in the back where the crown is, do a weave, back comb it, and then we're going to put these foils in. And yeah, we're going straight across the top of her mohawk area, but we're weaving it and back combing it, so that's gonna help it blend a little bit more, and I'm not taking like too heavy of a section. So you'll see at the very end that it still looks really soft and subtle and blended. I just wanted to make sure to kind of connect the top pieces right here. It would be kind of hard to do more diagonal foils at this point, so that's why I went straight across the top, just these last few foils. So that's what we're gonna finish off with these pieces right here. I just wanted to touch base on that. So anyways, when you're going through and somebody says that they want a little bit more of a rootier or shadow root area at the crown, just make sure that you're back combing it and do like blending it enough so that way the blonde is still up there a little bit higher, but it's soft enough to where it's not too noticeable, and they're not going to feel like they have to, you know, come in a month or whatever, because all the blonde is completely grown out. Like you'll see at the very end that the blonde goes up pretty high, but it's just soft enough to where she feels like it's not so bright that we have to throw a shadow root on or anything, which we ended up not having to do. So I know I kind of like disconnected what I was talking about and kind of went off on the side. So I hope all of that like makes sense. All right, so now that we got basically her whole crown foiled and everything that we're lightening up in her root area, we're done. We've got that covered. So after this last foil here, we're gonna start going through the ends and brightening up her ends again. She said that she feels like she's never able to get blonde enough no matter where she goes to. They're not able to lighten her up as much as she wants to be. So for one, that's why I'm leaving the ends out of her hair, because I am gonna go back through and run bleach through the ends once the top catches up. So I asked her, does she want it to be more solid blonde through the ends and completely lighten up everything? And she said yes. However, I'm lightening up quite a bit of what's through the ends, but I kind of like that warmth that she has. So I'm not going to bleach through 100% everything. I'm going to do quite a bit, but I kind of like the dimension that kind of those warmer blonde tones. I like the softness that it adds. Sometimes when you go through and bleach through the ends completely, it just looks too harsh, and I don't know, like it's just not, I know we're not going for like the most natural look in the world, but sometimes I feel like when you do too heavy of a solid blonde like down through the ends of the hair, it just looks extremely unnatural. And I don't know, I think leaving some of those warmer tones just look a little bit nicer. And actually she did come back and say, I know I told you to bleach through and like lighten up all of the ends, but then I kind of doubted myself after saying that. And I told her, I'm like, well, that's okay, because I ended up not bleaching as heavily as what you told me. And so she was kind of relieved and glad of that. So we're just going to do some of these panels here, brighten up through the ends, get her a nice bright blonde that she's always wanted, but it's still going to be really soft and subtle and kind of beachy, because we're going to leave kind of those warmer tones behind. I'm going to go through and just check these foils because I wanted to be cautious of my application, just because this hair has already been previously lightened and I didn't do it, so I don't really know what it was lightened with or if there was damage or anything like that or how strong of a bleach was used previously. So I'm just going through and checking everything, making sure that it's lightening okay and not looking weak or anything. And I'm going to reapply just where I feel like it might need it to get that extra boost, just to break through that warmth a little bit more. Now that her roots are lightened nicely, we're just going to go through the ends and bleach through that warmth so that way she has a nice bright blonde through the whole length of her hair. Once I finish painting through all of the ends of her hair, I'm just gonna let her sit for probably like 10 more minutes.
Hey guys, so my client just got done running the rest of the bleach through her end, so she's still actually processing just for a few minutes. So I'm back here mixing her toner these last few minutes that she's sitting. So what we're going to do is, because she wants it to be kind of like a nice cool bright blonde, I'm going to tone with Paul Mitchell the Demi 10AA 10V, and because I don't have any level 9, which would be ideal, I'm going to use level 8, but I'm really just going to do a few little drops. I'm not going to do like a measurable amount. It's not going to be like a quarter of the formulation or anything. It's just going to be a few drops of this. She still has a lot of level, that we're lifting her hair to be nice and bright, but she still has a lot of existing warmth in her hair. So I want to try to cool that down as much as possible. So adding that little bit of 8 in there, which hopefully will bump up to a level 9 with all the 10 that we're using, will help counteract that level 9 warm that is left in the hair still and cool it down a little bit more. So and I'm gonna let that sit for probably 10 minutes or so. Oh yeah, hi. And then we're also going to do an Olaplex treatment. Me again. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of rose gold into my formulation because I don't want it to grab too ashy in those porous areas. So I promise you, this is the last time, and we're going to mix.
Okay, guys, so basically half and half, 10AA and 10V, like a few little drops of the level 8 and a few little drops of the rose gold. All right, so I'm sectioning her hair and pulling out the front to the side because I want to make sure that we tone that last. The hairline pieces are really porous and can overtone and just grab and go really dark really quickly or go too ashy. So I'm setting those aside and I'm really only gonna run the toner through those like the last few minutes or whatever. So you can see here now that we're blow drying her hair that she still has a very rooty look, and look at how nice and bright those pieces are just directly on the hairline. But because we did it a little bit softer directly on the hairline, it still blends really nicely and is kind of softer and more subtle, but that brighter piece kind of falls right behind her hairline. So as her hair pulls back, she'll have like that nice pop of blonde. So this is kind of where I was asking her. I just kind of wanted to do a rough blow dry and ask her how did she feel about her hair. Does she feel like it's too bright all the way up at the top, since we did take the blonde a little bit higher up, like within an inch? And she's just saying that her hair is fine and she really likes it, how nice and bright and blonde it is. All right, now we're just going to comb her hair out, and you can see that she has kind of a lot of softness in her roots, but she definitely has more of a dimensional blonde now, where those subsections that we did created a lot of depth, but the diagonal foils that we did made it more dimensional and more piecey, but not like too chunky or anything. So she's really happy with the brightness that she has in her hair now. Kind of broke through that level 9 that she's always kind of been stuck at, and she's really happy with the amount of like rootiness that she has. So here's her before again. Definitely like too strong of a grow outline, and the way that we did her hair this time, it's going to be quite a bit softer. And here's her after. So she definitely has more dimension in her hair. That blonde goes quite a bit all the way up now, but it's a lot softer at the root. And I definitely like how the ends look. We brighten them up quite a bit, but you can see just a hint of that warmth that's still in there from what she came in with previously. Again, look at how nice and bright those pieces are, but they just really blend nicely, and she still has a lot of depth and dimension in the crown area. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you like how all of this turned out. That money piece looks killer. It looks nice and bright and everything, but still blends really nicely. I hope you liked the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. For anybody that's interested, the price of this service was $270.